You're listening to the Tribe Nail Tech podcast, where nail techs find inspiration and motivation to take their career to the next level. We welcome you here. Now tribe up and slay your day. Here is your host, Becky Bunnell.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's podcast. I am your host, Becky Bunnell, for Tribe Nail Tech podcast. Today, my special guest is Katy Hancock. Hi, Katy.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be a part of this.
I'm so excited you're here. Thank you for saying yes and showing up today, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Hey, Katy is an author and of many other things, but she is the author of Start to Success. I love it. I love it. Let's have you introduce yourself a little bit. Tell me a little bit about you, about what you're doing, like where you've been, how long you've been here, where are you living, like what's going on with you? Tell me a little bit about yourself.
So I started my nail journey in 2010, 10 years after I graduated high school. And I was doing corporate background and I just decided life is too short. And I wanted to do something that I am more, you're excited to get out of bed to do. And that gives you excitement in life.
Passion.
And I was looking at what I was doing in my spare time. Passion is a perfect word for it. And I was painting my girlfriend's nails. I was like, come over, let's do pedicures. And I was looking at something where I could use skills that I have. I wanted to go back to school because education, it's always amazing to learn. Like our brain craves learning, at least mine does.
Right.
And so started researching nail schools and I was like, you check in with your inner self. And I was like, yes, this is where we're going. This is where we go. And I remember crying at school because I was so excited that I was like doing something I was excited and passionate about doing. It was like a beautiful, bittersweet joy.
Yeah.
So I went to nail school in Murray and I did that whole thing, did my state boards. Right after graduating, I started building an in-home nail salon and I was super flattered by the school. Once I graduated, they actually reached out to me and said, hey, do you want to be a nail tech instructor for the school? And I we'll skip forward a little bit later, but I ended up going with my own inner vibe of doing my own in-home nail salon. And I did my own in-home business for over a decade and still do nails now. I love doing it. The interactions that I've had with people. I love the fashion side of things, being bold and fun and creative. Yes. About 6 years into doing nails, as part of doing my nail business, you always want to stay on top of the industry and fashion is always changing and there's always new products coming out. So I did a lot of continued education. I actually got to meet Jan Arnold with C&D Creative Nail Design during my journey. I got to be an ambassador to some extent and teach at different hair schools, cosmetology schools as a guest nail instructor and found I really enjoyed the mentoring side of it as well. As part of my passion from what I learned from school, there was so much information that I thought, oh, I wish the general public knew this. This is important information to know. Right. And so out of that passion, I started a blog, knowyournails.com. And then I started getting into social media a little bit more, created a Facebook page, eventually within like the first year or two, got a website together where it's all my pictures of my own work so that I didn't have to use like the image stock and stuff like that.
Right.
There's just so much pride when it's your own creation, right? Mm-hmm. And so, about 3 years ago, I moved down to St. George. I love Southern Utah. I love the heat and it's just a different vibe. Every city has its own culture and it's fun to see how you adapt and adjust to find that niche, right? And so that's kind of overall in a nutshell, my nail journey. And then of course, writing and publishing the book, which I did just a few years ago. So I think that the book kind of stemmed from the blog. I was finding more and more people looking for knowledge, looking to learn and grow and develop. And I thought, while the blog is great, I need to find a different modality to reach a larger mass of audience. Right. And so writing the book, and the book is kind of all the stuff I wish. I don't know how you feel, Becky, with your your training, and we can talk about it more, but there's so much that I wish I would have known. Right. And that's kind of the core heart of why I wrote the book, to try to help other people hopefully not make the learning mistakes I did,
right,
or to help give them knowledge that will kind of be a catalyst to their success.
Right. I love that. Boy, let me tell you, because I've done nails for 26 years. It's a long time.
That is a long time.
Yeah. And pretty much back then so in Utah, they didn't have licensing until about maybe 2003-ish, I'm thinking. I can't remember the exact year. So they didn't have licensing. Like, you could go take a nail class and you just started doing nails. So I took my first nail class in 1993, and talk about like, wow, putting yourself like, okay, well, here we go. I don't know, like, one nail class and I'm doing nails. We know how vast it is to do nails. There's so much to it. And you're just like out there going, well, I'm self-taught. I'm trying to figure this out. Let's see if I can do it. And so there's so much to know. And as you know, right now, I'm apprenticing a few girls, and I love teaching. I'm an educator. I'm an ambassador for So Gel Nails. So I do lots of teaching and lots of educating, and I love it. I actually taught at the first college. When Utah passed licensing, the college obviously was going to need nail instructors. So I reached out to them and I said, hey, now that they're passing licensing, are you looking for instructors? They said yes. And so I went and took my test and jumped all over it. Right. So I've always loved teaching. I love it. But you know, it's really hard. Each state, we know every state is different with different hours and stuff. But it's really hard to teach somebody everything they need to know about nails in that amount of hours. It's just impossible. It's impossible. Right. And, you know, I hear over and over and over again, nail techs say, I don't feel like I learned anything in school. I feel like I just learned how to pass my state boards. And I'm like, well, basically that's all that the instructors have time to teach you, is how to pass your state boards. Like, if you really get a true good education, like, you are one of the very lucky ones, because there's just not a lot of time. And I'm hoping in the future the licensing will change a little bit, because it needs to be, you know, it's just hard to give somebody everything. So that is why I love this book too, is because, okay, first of all, Katy, when she moved to St. George, she looked me up and she was like, hey, I would really like to meet you, and can we go to lunch? And I was just like, what? What? I'm telling my husband, somebody wants to meet me and they want to have lunch, and she's an author of this book and everything. And I was just like, what is happening? So it was so cool. And I've read the book, obviously. I got it. You signed a copy for me. It was awesome. And I read it, and it's great, because tell me like tell us a little bit about the book. Like, why did you decide to write it, and what kind of things are talked about in the book that you felt were really important to have out there, to have this, basically this manual for nail techs that just get done with school or whatever. Like, I love the topics, but talk about it a little bit. What are the different topics, and why did you decide that?
So I think one of the reasons mostly that I decided to write the book is I was looking for a way to get to a larger group of audience and not be limited to just online. The book is available in paper book, it's digital. You know, I wanted to not limit it to local or national, but have it be internationally accessible. And so that was one of the biggest drives, because there's a lot of people who are willing to learn. They are craving and hungry for the information. Right. But when I went to find some of that information, when I was going through my own like journey, Becky, there was very limited information. I felt like there was, and what information I did find, it seemed very limited as to how long ago it was published. Like, it's from the 80s. I don't know that this is going to be relative to this day and age, and how quickly those dynamics change, and logistics and all those types of things. So the best way I thought to do that was to take it into my own hands and share what I've learned. Right. You know, looking at wishing that there was a resource back then, realizing there's not. And so, well, let's make it happen. You know, let's start that resource now and have it be available. I think one of the all the chapters are really unique in what they have to offer. But I think if you're just barely finishing school, the best one is the first chapter, because it's all about making sure that this is a good move for you, what things to take into consideration if you're deciding to, do I do my own nail business from home? Do I rent a booth? Do I work for someone? Because there's great options out there. Do you do a mobile service, And
Right.
so it kind of hits on some of those basic logistics to keep in mind and what's involved in that, from branding to cost to advertising, all those basic ballooned essentials. So it's kind of a mini encompassing circle of all the things to take in consideration.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I think it's like when you're brand new at something, how do you know what questions to even ask?
Right.
Like, I know when I've learned something new, it's like, oh, well, I know I'll have questions, but until I'm further into the process, I don't really know what to ask. And so having that perspective from someone like you or myself who has been in those shoes already, we know what questions. And so I was able to share that with others of what I had learned or what I wish I would have known when I was looking for those answers.
Right. And there are so many good things, because it's kind of like, hey, okay, you're licensed, you're a nail tech now what?
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Well, and like you said, there's booth rent, there's commission, versus like employee versus not an employee. What does that mean? What if I'm working for myself, what do I need? I need insurance. I need, it's like, I do my own taxes. I collect my own money. And even salon owners, there's some still salon owners that are clueless on this, that they are doing the wrong thing. They're saying you're a booth renter, but they're doing certain things like buying the products, or, it's like, you don't understand all of that. And some, like I said, salon owners don't understand it either. And so it's good for you to know and have this book to be like, oh, okay, well, if I'm a booth renter, they really can't tell me when I can be there, or when you know what I'm saying? I have access to the building. I'm supposed to have this or this, and they can't tell me, whatever. And if I'm a commission, they're supposed to be buying all my supplies for me, like some people don't know. You don't know all these things, I'm trying to think so you do start even at the beginning about talking about, choosing a nail school, and that's important. So that's great this book is great for somebody that's even thinking about wanting to become a nail tech, because you talk about the difference between, finding the right school, the right fit for you. Go and interview that school and see if it, take a tour, ask them how things work before you commit to doing that. I know me as an apprentice, I've had girls that they've stalked me on social media. They've watched what I've done, and it's like, I want her to teach me. She's professional. She runs her pages professional. She looks like a businesswoman. She knows what she's doing, so there's many ways you can have an apprenticeship, where that means you go and you shadow in a salon with an instructor, still has to be a licensed instructor. You do a little bit more hours, but you're actually there seeing what a nail tech does day in and day out as running a business. My girls get to see everything. They get to see, how do you rebook clients? How do you interact with your clients? How do you handle uncomfortable situations? How do you sanitize? How do you do all those things? So you need to really investigate before you decide of where you even want to go to school. So that is a great chapter. You talk about starting a home business. Like, what do you need to do for that? What's the daily business life is another chapter. Making the money, the tax monster is another chapter, chapter 7.
Yes.
Like, they don't teach you that in school. Like,
no.
How do you do your taxes?
Like, how do you know whether to hire someone?
Right.
Well, how do you know what to write off? Like, it's those things that you learn as you do it. But this is a great way to just have it there for you, and it has it as a guide.
Yeah. It's a great guide. Networking, social media, joy in the journey, continuing your education. So, and that's a very important thing. And, I tell everyone, every time I teach, I'm like, what you do after nail school is going to make you the nail tech that you are. You don't stop learning. You don't stop learning. No. 26 years later, I'm still taking classes, and I'm an instructor, because I'm never going to know everything.
Well, and that's the exciting thing too. Like I talked about, people who like crave learning, and like it's not only a learning thing, but it's your competitive edge.
Right.
You know, things are constantly being invented. Shellac, when I was in school, was brand new from C&D. Nobody had heard of it. It's this hybrid nail polish, curable, soak off. And now you have IBX and all these other brands out there. And it's like, you have to stay on top of all these trends and things that are happening and the safety factors. I mean, we're dealing with chemicals, you're dealing with anatomy, biology. As new information comes out, you want to need that expertise for your clients. That's part of your value.
And things are constantly changing on the end of even like your state. Like recently the state sent out, you know, notifications of your files for Utah are one-time use only. Use them, chuck them. You can't, you know, you can't keep them. You got to throw them away. Recently, they just sent out another email saying if you use acrylic, you now have to have a certain extractor that not only takes in the dust, but takes in the fumes just at each individual nail desk. You know, and hard gel is just more and more popular, and it's just, you have to keep up on those things. You get lost and you won't stay ahead of the game. To have a good, successful business, you got to put in the work, you got to be knowledgeable, and you can't ever stop on your education.
Yeah. Ever. And I think a part of that education is safety. Like that's why these laws change, as they learn things, or, you know, some things happen, and we care about our clients. We're passionate. That's why we're in the field. And so a huge part of that is the safety of our clients.
It really is. Ourselves and our clients, 100%.
Yes. You work hard to build a business, your brand, it's everything.
Yes. Let's talk a little bit about like, how did you, so you had this passion, you started thinking, I wanted to get it out there on a bigger scale, but what does somebody do when they think about like, I would like to publish a book? Like, where do you even start? Like, what did how do you do that? Like, where do you go? What resources? How did you do that? Just tell us. Like, I'm baffled. Like, cause I've always thought about that. I've been like, oh, I'd love to write a little children's book, but I'm like, well, what do you do? And I know Google, we could probably find all this information, but since you're here and you've done it, why don't you tell us how you do it?
I love that you asked this question, because guess what? This was my first book I've ever written, ever published. So it was a very big learning skill, just like, you know, sharing this book was.
Right.
One of the first things, other than looking online, I went and looked in my direct community. I think there's a beauty of connection and community, and that are right there on a local level. And so I actually went to my local library to see if there was anything going on, because that's literature. Where else would you find books, you know?
Right.
I found out that they were hosting live authors where you could interact and talk with authors. And I went to this event. I networked with about 7 published authors, and they're from all over the nation. So some were local there living. This was up in Salt Lake at the time, but these happen at libraries everywhere. And, you know, you could go to your bookstores, your Barnes and Nobles, see if they're having any authors coming. And I got insights from both nonfiction and fiction. Even though my book is nonfiction, I wanted to know the differences, to have something apples to compare. Then I started looking at other events online that were going on. I found one that was at a college. For this one, it was at Salt Lake Community College, but you could look at any city that you're living in, talk to the universities and see, you know, do they have editing classes? Do they have special guest speakers who have done this multiple times? So the one I went to in Salt Lake, it was a gentleman. He's published over 40 books. He does trainings. He does mentoring, you know, networking, mentoring, all those types of things are going to be helpful in the process.
Right.
And then just continuing to bubble out from there. So working with him directly, he was a wonderful mentor for me. He gave me a lot of good constructive feedback, things that you think. So we're always a little bit biased as human beings. We love whatever we do.
Right.
But the beauty of it is when we get perspectives from other people, especially those who have done it, people who are successful and passionate about something want to share that passion and want to see others succeed, like you and me. That's why you do mentoring. That's why you do internships and things like that. We love it. We just want to share it. It's the big purpose of life. So he was phenomenal to work with. He would really say, you know, I get why you're doing this, but your audience is looking at it this way. Let's restructure this. So I learned a lot working one-on-one, just like the gals that you're doing internships with. It's face-to-face direct interaction that I think for me, myself, I grew the largest in.
Yes.
And to have that direct feedback was just priceless. From there, I found out on Facebook, and you can do this again, no matter what city or state you're in. A lot of them will have literacy blogs or literacy Facebook pages where you can join. For Utah, it's like the local League of Utah Writers.
Okay.
And I went to events that they held next and networked with even more people and got even more feedback. And so it just kind of, start somewhere simple, start small, local level,
right,
and let it grow from there, wherever it's going to go. And I'm still on that blog, when it came to getting my copyright done, I reached out again and said, hey, you guys, first time getting my copyright, give me your advice.
What do I do?
What's your recommendation?
Yeah.
So I think a big part of learning is maybe going out of comfort zone, putting yourself into new environments, and then being open enough to know that you can learn from others.
Right.
And to have that willingness. I think it's a bit of a heart and mindset. But man, if you can do that, you can do anything.
Every aspect of our lives, though, it's all connected to the same thing, because if you want to know how to do something better, go to somebody that knows better than you, right? Go to the expert, go to an instructor, an educator, and guess what? Be vulnerable and say, hey, I don't know how to do this. It's like I tell my students, I'm like, you've got to ask the questions. No question is dumb, because you're learning. And if I don't know, I might not know what you're asking me. And if I don't, I will send you to the person that will know, or I will find those answers for you. But you've got to ask the questions and go to somebody that's better than you, that's done it longer than you. And there's no better way to learn. Yeah,
I agree. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, just be vulnerable and ask the questions, because you're just going to grow. You're going to become better. So I am very impressed that you did the work to try to find out how to do a book. I think it's just stinking amazing. And I'm so happy to know you. And I just applaud you for that, because it's an amazing thing that you've done. And you should be very, very proud of this. So I'm so excited, because she's going to give away 3 copies of this book, guys. We're going to give away 3 copies of this book. So we're going to tell you a little bit. First of all, let's tell everybody where they can find you on social media, first of all. Okay. So give us your different links, your different outlets, what you've got, so they know how to find you and hopefully follow you, and how they can get a hold of you if they have any questions that aren't in the book. And then I want you to tell them where they can purchase the book at. And then we'll talk about what they need to do to enter to win the 3 copies. How about that?
Sounds great.
All right.
So a few places that you can find me. One is my nail salon website, which is sugarandspiceservices.com. And then another one is Katy Hancock, which is going to be my website for just my book. I do classes, mentoring, help people out on a one-to-one basis, doing phone calls, things like that as well. So you can go to that website, katyhancock.com. On social media, you can find me there. I have 2 pages. I have a page for my nail salon, which is just Sugar and Spice Services again. And then I have Start to Success, a nail technician's guide into the industry. I know it's lengthy, but you won't miss it. It'll come right up.
It all, right?
So make sure to check it. You can like the page, open discussions. I respond back to any emails, any social media responses. I love interacting with my readers and things like that. You can also follow me on Instagram, Pinterest, and Facebook. So Sugar and Spice Services for all the social media plugs. You can purchase the book on katyhancock.com. You can purchase the book on Amazon, both digitally or hard copy. And then you can also purchase the book on my Sugar and Spice website. So I have links on all 3. So
awesome.
Easy peasy.
I love it. So guys, I want you to look her up, find her, follow her, message her if you have any questions. Buy this book, guys. It's awesome. It's awesome to refer to and to have on hand. And then we're going to do 3 giveaways. So what we're going to do is you'll have to go, first of all, subscribe to the podcast. So this Tribe Nail Tech podcast. I'm so happy you're here. please subscribe to this podcast. That's your very first thing to do. Then you can go to www.nailteched.com. That is my website where I host all my online education. So all my nail classes that are online are on there. And then my Tribe Nail Tech wear. So I have lots of apparel for nail tech. So check that out. But you'll need to click on that, and then you'll have to fill out your email and stuff, do a subscribe there. So that's how you will get entered on my end. And then Katy will tell you what you need to do on her end.
Yeah. I'm going to try to show you on my computer, so hopefully you'll see this okay.
Okay.
So this is the website, katyhancock.com. And if you just scroll down, this is where you can purchase the book right there. And then this is where you can contact me and I can interact with you if you have questions, concerns. And then it has my other services there as well. So,
okay. So they just get on there and send you a little message or something. And okay, great. And then make sure you check out my other social media outlets, which are Nailed by Becky Bunnell on Facebook and Instagram. So I would love a follow on both of those. And today's episode is sponsored by Sogel Nails, and you can find them at sogelnails.com. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to either one of us. And I really appreciate you listening. Katy, thank you so much for being here today. I'm just honored to have you on here. And I love your book. And I'm so proud. You should be so proud. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katy.
My pleasure.
Thanks.